Welcome to another patch rundown where we'll be preparing for the September playtest, which will be coming around the corner super soon. And the big thing about this playtest is the equipment overall. The equipment changes are pretty big and we'll get into it. So we'll start off with a TLDR to see the changes. Number 1, system updates. You can upgrade your equipment to obtain special passive. The HUD is undergoing remodeling. You can use VAS to move around individually during the drop sequence. Backpacks have been simplified. Hunter updates. Hunter ability leveling has been reworked. Major changes to Brall, Gunner and Joule. Minor updates to a lot more hunters. Map plus game system changes. Codex, you can view the various equipment items, powers in the game through the codex. Arena adjustments to the warm-up phase to account for equipment changes. Everything else. So there is a lot of things to go through, so we'll just get into it. It might be a long one, this. Now, so if we'll get into the system updates first. Equipment. TLDR, upon reaching blue tier, equipment can be upgraded to one of 3 passives, different passives per equipment. Now, I think a lot of the interesting changes here is the creativity it adds. Now, some equipment I've been able to test two of these patches now where they've been working on this. Some of the equipments you can kind of feel is better than others. So I feel like they're still balancing things that needs to be done. But the idea of it and the way they want to be introducing it, I think is good for the game and good for the creativity overall. So I'm really liking it. So new stats. LMB amplification, ability amplification, including ultimate, and alt including, that should be probably not including, this including, and then alt amplification. So 3 different amplification stats, which I think is interesting. Now, tier 1 gray equipment stats adjusted. So mana and tech blade now also give ability amplification. Quick blade vamp blade now also give LMB amplification. So to like kind of summarize it, hunters that want to use abilities more than their like not auto attacks but like LMBs, they want to have mana and tech blade. But people that rely more on their LMBs, they want to be using quick blade, mana blade, and etc. So tech and mana and bladed helms, same stat types as before. So it's more about like changing how you think about what you want to be picking up. So thinking about when you're Shiv, you're thinking more about like hitting your shots, your LMBs, or if you're thinking Void and you're thinking more I want to hit my abilities, they're really important, and etc. So some of course can be put back and forward. Like I can see some quick blade items being good on Void, and same with like other blade items being good on Shiv. So more creativity, which I really like. We have when an equipment including boots reach tier 3, you can choose between 3 different upgrades, as we see. Now there's more like specifications on how you do it. It's more just like you upgrade to blue tier and then you click the one you want. You also see the stats for what they do. You can also hold in left alt to get more information basically. You cannot switch when you have chosen one. Team elimination smart loot adjustment. When you eliminate a team, their equipment no longer shows up in their team elimination box, except for red/exotic equipment. To compensate, eliminating a team will drop mega shard, 1 equipment upgrade for every team member of your team. Eliminating a team that was highly geared will drop 2 mega shards instead. I think it's a good quality of life change. Doesn't change too much stuff, but it's a nice one. You can now buy equipment in shop. There are 2 of each equipment, gray tier in each shop. They cost 1,000 gold each. I think it's good to have equipment in the shop. I do think it's too expensive compared to the other stuff. So unless you have already stacked yourself up with consumables and etc., then I would probably not use it. But like if I have consumables, if I'm set, I have some extra gold, then yeah, sure, I can use it to upgrade some equipment. I think that's nice. But I think some consumables, like for example jump pads, are really important to have. For participations of the veteran test, some changes since that test start. Changes to a limited box. Yeah, okay, so now just random because they had some small changes where they went through some stuff. Now On to the next section, HUD. TLDR, the in-game HUD is undergoing major overhaul. What you're seeing is work in progress and may take some time to get adjusted to. Yeah, so I'd say, like, remember to give feedback, everybody. Like, it's important to just send in the form, say what you feel about the changes. They do actually listen to the changes. Overall combat updates, you take 10, 20, 25, 30, 35 less damage from unarmored to gold armor. It's weird, unarmored gives you 10% damage reduction. This is cheaper temp solution until we figure out what tuning we like. All tiers of armor have gained plus 500 armor, 1 plus block. Now, gray, green, and blue are 5 bars, but gold is now buffed to 6 bars, which means that gold armor has been buffed. I hope this also brings more contention around it. I do think it's a little bit sad when you have the possibility of having 4 different spots of gold armor. But I do think, like, setting up for late game, do drop for the gold armor. Like, now that it's 6 bars, it makes a decent amount of change. Now, backpedaling move speed removed. This was a thing that they tested in the small thing. I'm really happy they removed it. We don't have to think about it now anymore. All good. This is interesting though, the drop phase. TLDR, you can no longer glide after ejecting early. You can still move your individual pod separately from your team while dropping. Press and hold a directional button VAS to eject yourself from the team pod. After ejecting, you can VAS to move your pod around, but you cannot glide. So this is an interesting thing. I think there was a lot of funny moments in the interactions with dropping into a pod together or like gliding out earlier. I don't mind them removing the glider. I can see why they do it, because there was some abuses around it and moving around the map. I think it's a very safe option, like what we're used to in many other games. But it's a fine overall. I don't have too much of a personal opinion about it. I think it's a fine change. Backpack though, we're simplifying how backpacks work. Backpacks can only be upgraded once. You can start with 3 consumable slots, up to 4 when upgraded. Rat Pack has been removed. It's a bit sad. I did really enjoy upgrading backpacks because I really value consumables. I think it's really good. So I think it's fine to simplify it because it's like not a super huge deal. So making more of you aware about the equipment changes, so using your shards for equipment is going to be more important anyway. So I think it's a fine change overall, but do still value consumables. Consumables are really good. On to hunters. Lobs. As an experimental change, lobbed abilities will now be a release on cast instead of on press down. Some of you may know this as quick cast with indicators. While pressed down but not yet released, the abilities will show the range area of effect. Abilities affected by this change for now: Shrike, R&B Bird Bomb, and Zeph Q Vacuum Grenade. I think it's a good quality of life change. I don't mind it. I think it's good. We like that. Ability leveling update. Now we're getting to the second big part. The second one. The first one being equipment changes, now the ability leveling update. During the last veteran playtest, we ran an experiment with Bishop, changing how leveling abilities worked. Feedback on the experiment was positive and we like it too, so we're going to try applying the same system to all hunters. Our primary goal is to make ability leveling feel more meaningful and impactful as choices you make throughout a game. While these choices may not completely change the way you play your hunter, it should be a deliberate decision you make for a reason. I did think, and I also saw, like, this was a good change overall, making your leveling up on the abilities feel more meaningful. Now, of course, there is still some changes that needs to be done to be able to feel like all of them feel valuable in their own way. There is some, like, pretty obvious ways where we'll get to, where some of the upgrades just are not worth it at all. But we'll get to it. All hunters have updated ability leveling. Hover over an ability and show advanced tooltips. Left Alt to see what you gain by leveling the ability up. Recommended ability leveling upgrades added, similar to recommended equipment. Please note that this system is a work in progress. Some number values on tooltips may be incorrect. Most hunter abilities base damage, ratio, and cooldowns adjusted for ability leveling updates. Many hunter abilities have new names. Now with 200% more lore. We love that. We love that. Okay, so Bishop was the first one. These changes are carryover from veteran playtest with some adjustments to make playing her feel smoother. Now, there's a lot of numbers. We'll get to the important parts, which I think is always going to be this one. This is the most important part for knowing what this changes. We don't have to get really into the nitty-gritty. So what you see there is, first of all, on RMB, level 2, 50% damage, level 3, 5 seconds of cooldown. L shift, +1 charge on level 2, and then level 3, get a big rocket on ability use. Q level 2, 5 seconds CD, level 3, max HP's shield on hit, stacks twice, and then R level 2, 50% damage. So this is like some interesting changes overall. This makes you think more about which level 3 do you want, because what is important is that you can only get one level 3 upgrade per game, but there's like one off, and that's if you get XP soul. If you have XP soul, you can get 2 upgrades. That's the only way. So it's important to note. On to Brall. Our goal with his Brall changes is to lean more heavily into his identity as a high mobility, high agency hunter, trading off some damage in the process. Separately, we're removing some of the hidden confusing power. So damage across Brall Soul Kill, kit 10% lower, but his passive and powered is 25% up. This is big, so this means that you don't want to be just engaging all the time. You want to be stacking up your passive to get empowered state, because that will give you the value of damage. Ability leveling, projectile builds improvement 2x more than other damage, so more damage. L shift dash no longer doesn't attack if you are actively RMBing or ulting. RMB tap, remove the straight to box. This is a good one. So now okay, they removed it completely. Before it was like you had it straight to box on the empowered, but now it's switched to the R, so it changes on how you want to be using it. So no longer deals execution damage based on missing health. Instead, heavy attack now deals 2x damage to targets below 45% health versus 35 in veteran test. So this is a good buff. So like again, like I think Brall is really good on finishing targets, but he's now a lot worse on starting the fights. So he'll be chipping around, like trying to get people down, but more about jumping in and finishing the targets in general. RMB increased dash range, Q speed increased, soft cap, some good numbers. Tether allows you to spin around the back of the target more before it breaks. Increased yoink force, initial pull will be faster. Further adjustments since veteran test to make using abilities of Tether feel more reliable. And now the R, killing an enemy with this ability will send them straight to death box. Can now be used on Wisp. When used on Wisp, this ability cooldown does not reset. So this is like a more niche things you can do with ult, which I think is interesting. You probably don't want to be using it on Wisps often, but it's a good thing to be able to do it for Brall, especially with him being a melee character needing to be in their face. So now on to the important thing, ability leveling updates. 20% damage level 2 and 3 seconds off on air slam. L shift +1 charge, and then level 3 3.5 seconds off. Q 6 seconds off on level 2, hitting a hunter refreshes 50% of its CD at level 3. R 10 seconds off level 2. So some good changes overall. I do think Brall probably is on the weaker side, but I think this helps the identity of the hunter rather than the power level of how he feels. With Celeste on the board here, ability leveling updates, not too much of notes here. Like buffs overall, 3% seconds, so it's more about how you want to be choosing. I did some testing, so there's really worth like RMB max and wall max are both pretty good. Now the ice dart damage while skating is pretty niche. I don't think you ever want to be taking L shift. I think the damage buff, if you want to be just going damage, or the more peeling aspect of the ice wall is better on the Q. And then R, level 2, 40% damage and 15 seconds off. So Celeste in a better state, not too much of the changes though. Elluna though, damage only scales with bonus AP, no base damage increase. And Q, bonus healing post toss reduced from 100 to 50. Now, as I mentioned in the tier list video, I think Elluna is in a rough spot at the moment. Zeph and Oath just gets a lot more value than Elluna. Now with the upgrades, 0.3 root duration on level 2, 3 seconds CD bonus AP ratio damage on level 3, L shift just seconds removed, not really too much. Level 2 increased heal amount. Level 3, 3 seconds post-host healing bonus 50 to 100. So like the healing overall on the Elluna is a lot nerfed, basically. So it feels a lot worse. Felix, some decent changes overall. Some changes to bring power back to his kit, some quality of life improvements. Separately, his ult was an outlier in terms of how little damage he was doing for an ultimate. So we're bringing it in line. I still think Felix is really strong. And the reason why I think Felix is underperforming is that people are building him wrong. Don't go one helm, one bladed. Now with the changes also get into either go double helm or go double blade. His toughness is increased. He'll be better with health items. That means he scales better with the health from the items. Passive, this is not right. I'm just gonna say it. Level 3 ability no longer gets refunded, was reverted. So this is not removed, which also makes Felix in a better spot overall. R&B, once again, knocks backs. Boops are back on R&B and L-shift. As we can also see on the ability leveling part, they up the ratio on the R&B, which makes it more of a potential poke tool overall. L-shift, once again, boops, dash hitbox increased, fix the bug, and baseline dash applies 50% of ignite level down from 100. So a little bit of a nerf on the L-shift, but I think the toughness and like not too much of the damage, but the ignition, being able to be in the fight is what is really good about him. Fix the bug on the Q, and then R, fire patch damage is increased. It is not too much, it's not like significant, like super OP, but I think it's like helps him overall. I think Felix is getting in a pretty good state overall. I think if you do R&B max, you need to go double blade. If you do want to be going the tank build, go Q max, as the shield is really good. Being a frontline, taking a lot of damage and using your shifts to juke and your R to engage, I think is really good for Felix. Now, Ghost. Removed self boop. A little bit sad, but it's fine. The thing with Ghost is that all of the level 3 abilities is a little bit underwhelming, like the CD reset completely on knock, CD reset on assist, and 20% CD per target hit. There's none of them that really spark out this is something you want on Ghost. They're all kind of meh, but I still think Ghost is a top tier hunter anyway. I think he's in a really good spot, so him not having an insane level 3 doesn't do too much, but if they do change his level 3s later on, he might be even stronger depending on if they nerf him or not. Now, on to Gunner. Let's see, can I get everything in there? Almost. Gunner, one request we get from Gunner players is to have more freedom in how and where to deploy barbed wires for maximum effectiveness. So we're trying a more modular version where you can connect them up. As for the other changes, we're pushing him to be more active in with his ability LMB usage, whether it's managing his accelerated heat gauge before both heating up and cooling down, or when to toggle and overclock in the middle of a fight. Now, so my problem with Gunner at the moment is that it's not really a controller. He has his barbed wires, which is fine. I think they're like decent overall, but he doesn't really have too much of controller aspects. He's not really mobile. His ult is kind of decent overall, but Gunner is in a really rough spot because his damage output is hard to get out compared to other damage hunters, and his controller aspect is just not up to pair with other controller hunters, so he's just like in an awkward place overall. He has some visual updates though, new model, improved VFX, which is nice, but yeah. LMB, your gun's heat now decays much faster by default, decaying fully over 3 seconds from full. Movement still accelerates the cooling, but it's just added on top. RMB mini reworked now is, as I mentioned, like you can stack them up. I think they're good, but doesn't give him enough. L-shift fixed the bug. Q no longer gives a shield at level 1. It's a nerf. Rebalance damage since it doesn't go up every level of overclock. Are enemy telegraph laser added, similar to Shrike, so it's easier for enemies to see it coming. I think one of the best changes though is that they have projectile no longer starts slow and accelerates, just starts at full speed. So from 1400 speed now to 3k speed, no acceleration. I think it's a very good buff, but it's hard to get value out of it. It's still kind of easy to see coming in, even though it's fast, you can still react to it, but it's a good change for him. Now for the ability leveling, it's like 1 second off 20% damage, 7 second on level 3, doesn't matter for R&B. 25% increased hover duration is pretty good on this L shift because its mobility is lacking. So one of the few L shifts that is actually valuable for different hunters. Q level 2 max health shield on use and then 50% damage. The damage is pretty good, but then you don't really want to be playing gunner for the damage aspect, more for the controller aspect. But I think his level 3s are lacking in general. L shift might maybe be the best overall, question mark. And then like slow strength on the R. I think Gunner probably the worst hunter at the moment. He needs to be looked at more to be able to get actual value out of him. Now on to Joule. We're adjusting Joule to resolve some sources of frustration from Joule players in latest playtest. As a trade-off, we're adjusting other parts of her kit to ease some of the frustration playing against. Now scales how much damage the detonation does to target's max health based on how much AP Joule has. So it makes it so tank Joule is harder to actually get value out of. It's a good thing. R&B damage at minimum charge, tap cost 25% to 50% of full damage. I think that is a decent buff overall. Also fixed a bug. L shift Joule is incorporeal, invulnerable while dashing, reverting to June. That is a big buff. That is a big buff. The small thing I was happy about Joule was that I could damage her now, but now she's incorporeal and invulnerable again. So that makes her pretty good again. Probably a top tier hunter. Mid-dash collision, but also worth noting is that, as I mentioned in tier list, that Oath is really good, and Oath is a really good counter to Joule though in the meantime. Q stacks applied on hit 2 to 1, arm warm-up duration increased to 0.4 to 0.5. Joule is incorporeal, invulnerable at the start of launch after warm-up has completed. So it's a very small window to react on, but you can cancel her out, but it's really hard. Bug fixes to incorrect missing stacks, and then ability leveling updates. R&B, decent buff, 2 seconds off, and then 60% level 3. L shift, 0.5 seconds, and then 150 dash damage. This does not increase the damage from your passive, just the base damage. Okay, that's good, or it would be very strong. And then 50% damage on the Q, 3 seconds on 3 seconds on Q doesn't really do anything. And then 50% impact damage on R. I think the R&B and dash is probably a lot better now. Now, my boy KP. Overall, damage shifted from base damage to ratio damage, meaning you have more clearly chose between tank and glass cannon KP. I think it's a good thing. R&B CD on hit removed as baseline, sad. Base CD lowered at level 1 to 18 second, removed self ground though. So like doing combos with Kingpin is a lot easier, like hitting the hook and then dashing backwards to pull them even further is a lot easier. Increased self slow though, so like moving around is harder, but that's not really too much what you care about. And I'm a little bit sad about the R nerf no longer applies anti-heal, so it's now the anti-heal is applied on level 2, so you get 40% damage and apply anti-heal on level 2 upgrade, which is kind of late into the game though. Now for R&B, 5 seconds on 2, 33% CD on hit is now added on level 3. I think it's good if you want to be playing for the hook build. I think Kingpin has more diversity. You never want to take the level 3 upgrade though, like 0.5 seconds on alt shift and then 1 second of level 3. So you don't really care too much about that. Q though, Iron Smash is probably the best anyway. 5 seconds of level 2 and level 3, 0.5 second stun duration is pretty good to have. The stun duration makes his combos a lot easier with ult. So I just think the Smash is better. But you can build a hook build if you want, it's possible. Myth. Myth looked very strong in data with the changes going into July/August playtest. True. High-level players called out a flattening of skill expression of her LMB. The floor got lower and more accessible, which is great, but the difference between timing LMB well and poorly was low value. Skill ceiling went down, which isn't great. Our goal is to raise power via skill expression of an element that is already higher skill concern, perfect green arrows, while leaving the main new player power untouched, low range arrows. Separately, we're reducing the power of fast fired impaling shots that lack warning and can be frustrating to play against. So some good changes overall. LMB damage curve tweaked. Damage builds slower during charge up between stage 1 green and stage 2 blue. Perfect moment, so firing shortly after green isn't a big damage increase. That is a good change. Stage 1 green damage nerfed. Perfect green slightly more damage. Holding LMB too long will cause a significant reduction in max distance and damage. I think that's also a good change, but again, these are like significant nerfs also for damage. RMB, max distance and knockback now increase as you hold down charge. I think it's a good quality of life. Enemies are knocked back further when hit closer, but the charge up value still affects this pretty drastically. Reduce minimum charge and increased max charge. I think it's a cool change overall. Now for the leveling update, 6 seconds off and then increased min-max 0.2 stun duration on RMB, 2 seconds level 2 and then plus 1 second speed walk duration, plus 50 movement speed in terrain. I think it's an interesting like level 3 potentially to have. Q though, 60% increased damage and then 5 seconds off and 0.5 seconds duration. And then R 10 seconds and 10% damage. So Myth, I would say probably a little bit weaker overall, but still in a very good state. Oath was pretty strong in August. Oh shit, he was really strong. In part due to the bug that caused his ult to go faster than intended. So now they're going to revert that. We're bringing back that back to intended value and giving him the necessary tune-ups for the ability level update. Just to say though, that's not the thing that made him broken. It helped him, but also now the charging with the hammer helps a lot. Now, so Shockwave is slower, but now that he can charge up his hammer and dash at the same time, makes him a lot stronger. Now for ability leveling updates. RMB, level 2 faster regen, repair on shield energy. Level 3 increased max HP scaling on shield. L shift, 3 seconds on dash. 5 seconds on shield bash. Level 3 hammer swing charges 2x faster when casted after dashing. Another one of the few where L shift is actually looking pretty good. For 2x faster charge up on hammer is pretty good. Now the healing, 20% on level 2 and then 4 seconds off on level 3. I don't think that does too much, and then 50% damage on ult. I think Oath is one of the strongest hunters still, in still a pretty good state. Now Shiv, CD reduction removed from base ability, slow on enemies hit removed from base ability, R no longer deals execution damage. That is pretty big though. Base damage increase does roughly equal damage as an old ult when target is at 50% HP. So again, I think Shiv is one of the hunters where if you're really good you can get the value out of it, but the average player is probably harder to get the value overall. RMB level 200 distance travel after first target hit. That's a good one to have. 0.5 stun duration, also very nice. 40% damage on L shift and then 2 seconds off on level 3. Don't really care about that. 25% CD when hitting terrain and 50% CD when hitting hunters. Level 3 slows enemies hit by 50% for 4 seconds. 40% slow though is helping quite a bit. So there's some interesting level 3s, but I think Shiv is in a difficult spot to get value compared to other hunters at the moment. Shrike. RMB no longer cremates wisps at level 1, big nerf. L shift no longer resets CD at level 1, big nerf. So 2 big nerfs, but they're now added as the level 3 upgrades. So the base damage output like you get in team fights are lowered quite a bit. You do get them back later, but you have to choose between them. You can't get both unless you have XP Soul, of course, that's the only thing off. So I think Shrike struggles a lot with these changes. So I'm going to be interesting to see if they do rework anything or if they change it on later. Stalker was by far the weakest character in last playtest. True. LMB, stat charge time reduced by 0.15. LMB no longer cares about how long you charge stab attack for his damage. Increase stab dash lung. RMB flash dagger resets anytime Stalker kills an enemy or assists in the kill. That's pretty big for him. Playing more on the resets, actually like the idea of killing as an assassin. L shift reduce cooldown by 1 second for both long and short dash. Increased clone health. I don't think that doesn't really do anything. Clone damage increased from 60% to 100%. I think it's a fine change, but also the clone is pretty easy to kill, so it's hard to get value out of it. But I think the changes overall help Stalker. I think it's in a better spot, not the worst spot, but not the top tier spot anyway. I think it might be better for average play, but I would say for high MMR and like tournament play, he's still pretty shit. Sorry, Stalker. Ability leveling updates. RMB level 2, 6 seconds off. Level 3, hitting the dagger marks enemies, causing them to take 10% more damage for 3 seconds. That's a good one to have. 1 second on mini dash, 2 seconds on X dash, 0.5 seconds. Yeah, you don't really care about level 3 on L shift. 20% damage on Q. Kills with execution slam grants 300 HP shield. So he has 2 different routes he can go from. I think that's quite interesting, like changing up his gameplay depending on how he wants to be leveling up his abilities. Void, ability leveling updates. The important things here is damage on RMB and then shield on L shift. Teleporting grants you and allies within a temporary shield. And then the Q, the bomb applies a dot while on ground. So I do think it's sad because I really like the dot in general on Q, but now they nerfed it to only have level 3. I think there's a lot more depth and changes and things you can do on Voids. I think the changes are very good overall. Void in a good spot, but also then very needed to have a certain comp to be able to play him really well. It's a hard hunter to master. Zeph changes. He has level 2 charge and a level 3 an extra charge. L shift, don't really care about. Q, damage up, and then stun duration plus CD off, and then level 2 base damage and plus healing. I think Zeph is a really good spot at the moment. I think the charges on his healing, because it's instant and really easy to just apply, makes him really strong. I think RMB probably max is the one to go for. Now, done with the hunter changes. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Over to map and game systems. Powers, just one small but potentially impactful change. Tactical nuke and mega cluster nuke now turn respawn beacons into ruin beacons. This does not affect infinite beacons, Kobayashi and Heart. That is an interesting thing. I think then nukes become a lot better for the late game, like just removing the beacon, or like not removing beacons, but making so people need to buy them if they want to be using the rest. I think it's a very cool change overall. Night 1 boss. Some boss arenas where bosses spawn have been added with unique layouts. They're really cool. I like them. I've seen them. Spawn at level 5 was 6, so killing you will take your team to level 5 only. Also a good thing. Level 6 on just killing them was way too broken, so very good change. A new Night 1 boss has been added. Maybe, hard to say. It has. Sorry. Codex. A codex has been added to the game, accessible from main menu. It is information from the various powers, items, equipment, and Supervive. So this is very good. Like it is not complete, it is not all well and done yet, but I think it's a very good thing to have for new players. You can see over the equipment, see over the powers, like prepare, learn about them. So I think this is very good to have in the loadout. Arena mention, let's go. For just the first round, increase the duration of the warm-up phase before the walls drop from 12 to 26. This is to account from the equipment changes noted above, so you have time to select your upgrades. Added a visual countdown in warm-up phase. I think that's a good thing. Before the walls drop, so you can see how long until the round start. Tree Prison added as a possible power to Red Chest. Wheel Piercer and Be Kind Revamped have reduced chance spawn. Arena players smiling. Nice. Everything else, there is more. Okay, when gliding very high in the air, you're pulled down more quickly. It does not affect how long you glide. This is a big nerf to jump pads, like rotations are going to be harder. I think you still can do them pretty well, but by the fact that you go further down a lot quicker means that long rotations are harder to pull off, but still very important to do. When you request gold at shop, you will auto buy the items you requested once you receive enough gold for your teammates. Good change. Last hitting creeps now plays a visual/audio effect. I hope they change it. I've heard it and it sounds a little bit like people are gliding next to you or like close by you. So it's a little bit confusing. I think it's a good idea, but they need to change how it sounds. Hits now create a local reddish outline queue around affected enemies visible to target and instigator. Good change. Specific CC stun grounds create a colored outline around the affected target. Good change. Way too many changes, improvements to UI UX to list here. Cursor, map icon, hub updates. Interesting to see if they have more of that from last test. You can place your scan grenade anywhere in the cast range, not just at the edge. Will go to your cursor. Good quality of light change, I like it. Fixed an issue with in-game voice where your volume was too loud at 100%. Good. And the yearbook album now shows radius and progress to your teammates when use it. A lot of good changes overall, and then we got through it. Holy. Another huge patch. I'm really excited to play this September playtest. I think again they're moving in the right direction. I really like the leveling system that they're adding to the hunters. Like, we're giving them more value. I really like the equipment changes. So it's all about like fine-tuning these things in. Supervive is looking better and better by each patch. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to leave a like and subscribe, and then I hope I'll see you guys in the playtest.